Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you an update on the Skaar carrier and maybe try to get a little bit of building done on this video too, but there's a lot of things I wanted to go over. So this is the other side of the carrier from what I showed last time, and I've been putting a lot of time and effort into this whole module base setup, and I did some texturing in this area, and this took a while. This took a while. So on the last video, I kind of showed this module base sort of, or this module sort of parked inside the ship there, and I built it right in the ship as part of the original creation. I have now separated that, and then in testing, I realized that this half block outer wall idea trying to fit in there did not work. It could not get into the bay to dock. So I had to modify the bay. I couldn't make this any skinnier, but it's no longer a requirement to have half blocks on the side of the module. And I'm going to get those module specs. If you wanted to build a module of this type, I will get those specs in the video description. I left them in a comment yesterday as I finally figured out about 8 o'clock at night what size it was going to need to be, because I did a lot of work prior to that, experimenting. But the module does work now. The bays look like this. Now, there's a lot of people in comments too that didn't really want the module bays, and I can understand that too. The reason why I chose to go with them is primarily because they don't really cost anything, CPU wise or whatnot. I mean, it's just blocks. And when I was building this, it presented a really nice opportunity to stick in half of the ship's solar panels in the module base. So I got 12 large solar panels mounted up in here that are kind of discreet. You don't see them very much, so I don't mind that where they are very much. And on the other side of the ship, or somewhere in the ship, I can't say exactly where yet, it will have another set of 12 solar panels somewhere embedded in, I don't know, a room space or below the flight deck or some other place, but not really visible from the outside of the ship. Um, so that's basically what I was working on as the module base. Now, as in the module itself, just to go over the specs, it is 11 blocks wide. Again, the half block requirement on the side is no longer a thing. In fact, it probably should be a full block on the outer walls. It does need to have two landing gear on the front side that have to be recessed in one block so that when they extend out, they're flush with the front of the module. Um, it is a total of 6 blocks tall, including the landing gear on the bottom, which I happen to have on this particular module. So 6 blocks when those are retracted. I'm sorry, when those are extended, not retracted. And then pretty much all your main parts. Well, I mean, obviously you can do the module any way you want, but to clean up, to not have heat or problems on the interior, I had to pretty much stick all the main parts, generators, fuel tanks, all that stuff, like on the block 5 row or one block down from where all this stuff is. So it keeps the interior with no heat or rads or anything like that. Now it's very important. The biggest important part of the module, though, is actually where this pilot seat and window are, and the door. So at this is your top block row. So this would be block row 1. Block row 2 coming down from the top in the center is where the pilot seat really has to be. And then directly below there on basically block row 3 is where the front connecting door has to be. Now the front connecting door can go all the way to the edge of the module. It doesn't have to be recessed the way I've got it here. This works though. This allows for it to line up a little bit easier or unnoticeable if you're a little off. Let me dock this a minute. I'll show you how this is working. Also on the length, it is, I think I've got this, let's do another count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got this 12 blocks long. It technically could be 13 blocks, and it could be longer than that, but if it is longer, it's going to stick out of the edges of the bays, but it will still work. As in the height, it could also be taller, but keeping it at this height works out because you can dock this while this thing is actually parked on the ground. So let me dock it in here a minute. Get the HUD on. So when I'm lining this up right now, my lineup is about here. And then once you get to the front, you pull all the way up, and then you just release off the thrust, and then it docks. So when I get out and go through the door here, there's this little foyer area, and even if you're off a little bit, it's almost unnoticeable. So it's, and then you kind of come into the inside of the ship. And since I had to do some copying and pasting, I decided to like texture up this the insides of the dock modules as well. And the way this is set up is like if I wanted like 6 module bays, I could just copy and paste this whole mechanism over and over and over again and have as many module bays as I really want. But I'm only going to have 2 on this ship, just in this location. The other side's not going to have modules. It's got totally different stuff going on over there. So one other idea. One last thing. I just want to show you the. Let me get this module back out a second, and it is considerably smaller than the Helios modules. So here would be a sample of a Helios module, the Janus. You can see how much larger those are than what these modules are. But these are 2-floor modules. They're way wider. They're a lot longer. These are pretty dinky. And that's why they're a little tricky to build, because they are small. It doesn't give you a lot of fluctuation, especially with pilot seat and doors and things like that, and limited amount of space in there. But I was also thinking, not having the requirement of half-block sidewalls, if you're going to do a storage module or something like that, you could put, full-size cargo extensions down the side of this thing, and it would probably be beneficial for getting a lot more cargo in it. Now this is a real lightweight module. It's got minimal thrust on it. Well, it probably has a little bit more than it needs to park, but so it's got 3 lift thrusters, and they're the smallest ones possible for CV. 2 forward thrusters, and 1 reverse thruster, and one strafing thruster per side, and then 1 down thruster, which this was peculiar. I didn't really want the thruster here, but it was the only place I could put it on the top side that wouldn't cause heat problems on the interior of the ship, and that is something I didn't want to do, so I kind of really threw it out of the way over there. It has no front door on it. It just has the 1 entry point, which lines up to the module bay. I didn't really see the point of having a door coming out the back of it for any reason. Wouldn't really accomplish anything. So that's that. And yeah, as compared to the Helios modules, yeah, it's a very small module. In fact, I could land one of these on top of a Helios module pretty easily. So another thing I was looking at, and I was taking a look. Well, I did texture a little bit more on this side over in this general section here too. But I was taking a look at the landing gear, and I had this idea that I just tried out before the video here. So we had this front landing gear, and I didn't really like the mechanism anymore. I wanted to improve upon that design anyway. I was a little bit happier with the rear landing gear. The mechanism didn't bother me too much. I think it looks pretty good with the framework that's above it. However, I was taking a look at the Skaar crawler over here, and I really loved the idea that it was sitting on tracks. I thought that was kind of neat. It was kind of one of the things that really got me excited about this creation in the first place, is the whole track thing. Although this is a base and doesn't move, I just thought it looked kind of neat, sitting on the tracks like that, kind of that weird, I don't know, tattoo-y kind of thing or something like that, some weird sci-fi thing. So I borrowed some tracks from this just to see what it would look like on the carrier in place of the landing gear that were there. So I copied a chunk there of the rear right side track and put it over here. Now it's not tweaked out. I just sort of slammed it in place and didn't like do any of the modifying block work on the sides. So we got that, and we've got another landing gear, or I'm sorry, a track mechanism on the front here, which isn't obviously tweaked out, and it's kind of blocking this front thruster a little bit, so I'd have to finagle this around and get that working a little bit better too. But and the idea would be to have landing gear kind of hidden within the tracks that don't come down past where the bottoms of the tracks are. So basically a landing gear would have to have 1 block up, and when it's fully retracted, it would be flush with the bottom of the tracks. And I'm just curious what you think of this idea. Granted, they'll probably get moved around a little bit, maybe even scaled up a little bit, especially on the back. Um, and it would still function as landing gear. But I'm just thinking that could be kind of neat because I certainly like the looks of this better than what the landing gear mechanisms were. And I think if I did go this route, and this thing's going to be pretty peculiar looking anyway, that this will really set it off. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in any kind of sci-fi or even concept art of like 850 foot long, rusty carrier that was heavily modified into some kind of, mobile city that also can land on the ground and sit on tracks and cruise around the ground like a crawler does. And it's a Skaar thing. They came from these desert communities and impoverished and a bunch of different races and factions of people and criminals and some regular people, and they're all kind of mixed together on these outer worlds, kind of running from the law and things like that. And it's a different place. It's kind of like going to a Tatooine, Mad Max kind of environment where everything's kind of rough and dangerous, and there's rival factions, feuding over resources, and you know who's in control and who's the more powerful kind of thing. Um, and this would be something that they could, first it could fly to space and warp around and everything, but also it could literally land on the planet and act as some great big structure that could roll in on someone. I don't know. It's just, it was an idea. I don't have to go this route, but I think it could be pretty neat, especially if I get these to fit correctly and get all that tweaked out. Maybe make the tracks a little bit wider or something like that. That'd be just something I just haven't seen before at all. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show today. Now, if that's all you want to see is the updates on this, that would be it. But what I also wanted to do here is try to work on the section that I started the other day in the video and keep on going with this and try to get it right. Right now, I was kind of looking at it, and there's a lot of little flubs and things that I don't necessarily like. However, things look so much different after they're textured versus the white block thing, and that's usually when I add a lot of the little detail stuff into is actually when I texture it on the Skaars. But to start with, I don't need that block there either. I realized I didn't like those pipes there. I didn't think they fit very well, so I wanted to get rid of that. Here, let me turn on the flashlight too. It gets, even though I'm in broad daylight too, it just gets dark. You get close to something and all of a sudden it's a little harder to see what's going on there. So the idea of this again was to be quite abstract and have like a bunch of different buildings that are kind of like slammed together and pieced together, and kind of bobs up and down a lot here, and then eventually get back over here and have a larger overlooking control tower that would actually be, where you pilot the ship at. So over here, I've got this bottom area, and that totally doesn't line up to this top section here. But I kind of like that weird shape there too. I don't know. This all takes a while, by the way. Doing all this building stuff, you can play around a long time with trying to figure some of this stuff out. But right now, I'm thinking what I want to do to start with is I want to get rid of the angle here. Just at least off the gates. So what does this need to be? This needs to be a full block, and then we put in one of these, and at least I wanted to extend it so it lines up better with this top piece. It totally isn't lining up with the top piece right now, and it's a 4-block wide thing again, so I'm gonna try not to emphasize that it's where the door is or anything like that. I didn't really want a particular mark that makes it look off-centered necessarily. And you know what? In this whole row of blocks, since there's a row of blocks behind there that are going to be required anyway, I'm going to do these in carbon. Anywhere I can to minimize weight with still leaving at least a block of steel between the interior and the exterior. I'm pretty much doing it on this creation. It's big. I want it to move pretty good. I don't want to add any more thrusters to it. And it's going to be responsible for moving a fair amount of weight as well. So there's a lot of reasons why I want this to be kind of lightweight. And it's a carrier, not a combat vessel either. Although it's going to have quite a few guns and stuff on it, but for defensive purposes. But who knows what people will actually do with it. So this angle actually isn't that angle. It is this angle here. So we're going to 45 here. Let's line up a couple of those there, and we'll put in steel blocks on the inside. Once I go to the inside and start working on the interior, a lot of those full interior steel blocks will be cut up into you know, something that more form fits the interior. But that'll be another process. Before I forget too, before this thing is done, I'm going to do another layer of stuff, and that is go over the whole ship and replace probably a couple hundred blocks throughout the ship with damage blocks. That is one of the processes I wanted to do. I just haven't really done that yet. Alright, so here, let's put in one of these to match the angle that's there. And you know what, here we're just gonna curve it in right like that. So now this is going to this angle here, which is kind of neat, but I'm always trying to keep you guessing on this ship with what's going on. So let's just wig out, and right below here, let's just put in something completely different. How about we do something like this and have it actually kind of come on the inside. This could be another doorway opening here. Get in a couple side trim blocks here, and we're going to need some blocks on the floor. At least in this area, block there. So now we got this little rounded opening here. On the other side of that, let's try to go with a little bit of like symmetry stuff. So let's put in another one of those, and something like this to kind of go opposite and build out the same way it came in at. It's a weird thing. It's kind of a lessons for me in asymmetrical stuff too. Is I'm kind of realizing that, you know, if full asymmetrical completely can look good, especially on a building, but a lot of moving things, it can be off-putting. It can look a little too bizarre, and I'm trying to like find a mix between keeping some things symmetry and some things non-symmetry, and I think that is kind of where I'm happiest with. I think that works out the best in the end for something like this, something that moves at least. Okay, so how about here? It goes in a little bit, but then it starts, we can get rid of these blocks in, and then it just kind of angles out this way. Oops. Ah! And okay, so we got this piece here too. Okay, we're gonna keep building that up. So much weird stuff going on in here. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun building something like this. It's just so bizarre, so weird. A lot of things can go that you wouldn't think could go and work together, and it's fun. And every little section of the ship is different. It's not like I'm trying to necessarily repeat or copy something from anywhere else. It's just all kind of custom in that particular area of the ship. Like whatever's going on here, this is off-centered from that, but this is centered, and these kind of line up, but this part doesn't. And that's kind of what I was getting at with this whole asymmetrical aspect of things. It's like, yeah, there are some seams, there are some lines, there are some things that work out and kind of line up together. Like if you look at block row 2 here, it sort of like evens out crossed here, so you got kind of a straight line here, and then there'll be some more over here. So that kind of keeps things so it doesn't look too bizarre, but everything else on top and around it is all like just ad hoc. It's just, you know, whatever ends up going there kind of thing. And that it's a fun way to build for sure. Okay. And, well, you know what? Before I do too much more blocks, let's try to figure out some texturing here. Again, I keep on saying that the texturing will really change the look of how this is set up. So on texturing, I've been kind of working out some things. If you notice in some of these areas, it's kind of, I'm doing a mixed material on as its base material in this build. So it's a little different than the previous Skaar creations where I pretty much only use this rusty metal. Now I'm also using a lot of this, this one next to it. But in some cases, I had to make a offset color tone so it blends in, because they both texture at like different, I don't know, luminosities or something, where one would be brighter than the other, and then I did a custom color to color match them better. So one of these can fit in with one of these pretty well. And I want that little bit of a mess up in there anyway, because you want the panels to all look kind of separated. All right. Well, let's. But often I will start out with this, and then I'll start replacing a lot of this with other things as I go. In some cases, like if I wanted a strip of this other material, what I found to do first would be to paint in a section, and then try to find the full solid pieces or something that could blend in together. Like this here, I don't like these lines. I don't like the line here. So I will replace those back with like this. And if you can get these to line up, then I would also recommend doing it. But they often won't, so it's not really a thing. But now we got this extra little piece here, which I think is kind of cool. It kind of splits that up a little bit so it doesn't look so repetitive and normal. And in fact, all these are kind of lining up here except for that front one. And then over here, well, tell you what, we'll put one more piece in there, and then we'll have something centered maybe right above here, maybe a vent or something like that. Let's paint the bottom. A lot of times the underneath areas or these little nooks and crannies, I paint one shade darker than the others to kind of force a better looking shadow. Or kind of a forced shadow. I won't say better looking, just kind of a forced shadow into the area. So something like that. And okay, so do we have any valid center points here? How about we put in, and I'm totally running out of textures too. It's like I want so many more textures. I keep on having to reuse the same ones over and over again, which I think would look better if I didn't. But I just don't have any other options. There's just no more textures to really use. So a couple vents there. And sometimes I'll fluctuate in color too, but this is picky. I got this other tone color, and this is, I know it looks just gray, but it's actually kind of a brownish tint. And I've been trying to get in little discrete body lines here and there with this tone, but not too much, just some. And then I'll often have to step back and look at it and see if I actually like that tone there or not. You can see a little bit of the brown in here. On the other side, there's little pockets of it too, but not too much. So we got that, and let's do these metal beams. I've been using a lot of this on the metal beams, but for these textures because it lines up good. But sometimes I'll like put in something else in the mix. Quite a few different textures, like there, maybe that, and we'll keep these like regular metal here. How about something different on the back side here too? There's quite a few textures I can line up to this. For the most part, I have not been putting in a lot of texture lights, though. There's some, and the ones I am putting in are usually red, but there are some other little ones here and there, like this. But pretty low on texture lights overall. Okay, and we'll just keep this whole area here darker toned. And let's get that in there. And on the center here, let's I don't know, stick in something else. How about some of those? And yeah, the texturing on this, like a lot of these other ones, it does take a long time. It really does. It's rewarding, but the only way I can really look at a creation this size and actually ever finish the texturing. It's just focus in on one little section at a time and do it, do it up, and then eventually move on to another section. But right now, to try to minimize all these, to be slammed with a huge amount of texturing all at one time, where it gets so tedious and monotonous, that I'm trying to like do some texturing as I go. So then I'll have less to texture later, and then I can kind of break up the build where I'm spending some time doing block work and spending some other time just doing textures and stuff like that. So I don't know. See how it works out. I'm just trying to see. Often I'll take a look and try several different textures in an area. I kind of want to get some. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I often try to get just different stuff in here. Mix it up a little bit. I'll fluctuate in color tones too. Like now, I'm almost thinking that maybe this little section here, I'll go with the standard gray, and the rest of the stuff around the immediate area is shade darker. Let's do this this surface here like that. Actually, in this case, let's put in some of these for the heck of it. Then we'll go a tone brighter on the bottom and keep this line intact. And I'll try to line that up a little bit to this area too. Let's get something more interesting in here though. How about a couple of those? We got a building separation here, so I might go dark on that area and paint this lighter across here. Those don't line up. And how about a random vent here? I like both directions. Actually, I usually go with this, but in this case, let's turn it that way. So let's, the door color, I've been doing that, so it's a little bit darker doors on this. So on row 2 up here, we've got this brown going on. I'm kind of wondering if I should try to color match that across this section a little bit, or at least in part of it. Maybe it does it there and it skips it here, and then it does it again over here across row 2. Something like that, and then in here we can put in this kind of like some weird divider, so maybe do something along these lines, maybe an extra vent there, and try to keep this formation going right across. Maybe another thing too. How about just a random panel like that? Okay, so not so bad. Let's get this part. I've been pretty, I haven't been using as many of these, but I'm still putting in some. Again, a lack of texture choices. One of those and one of these. And let's see, is there any of these other panels that could look good in that? How about that one there? And let's put, I don't know, maybe one of those there. Nah, not there. How about like that? You'd kind of work. Alright, so I'll try to just do up a little bit more here, and we'll call that a video. I know this stuff just takes so long. And I also keep on thinking too, well, once I'm done with it, I got to upload the thing, and that takes forever. So, yeah, ultimately I don't like to have super long videos, but it's kind of unavoidable in this kind of thing. And let's do these bars a little darker here and on the insides of those. And This could present a neat looking little texture light thingy. If I go with something like that, and I think, not really. How about, let's just go with these. These are kind of toned down now. I've been avoiding using this, which fits right, which I'm all aboard or all on board with that fitting right. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem very fitting for Skaar. It looks too clean, a little too bright, a little too clean. So I'm always trying to find alternatives. And actually, I think this is what I wanted. That one, for some weird reason, can look kind of good at night. In the daytime, not much texture lights look very good in the day, but at nighttime they can look alright. About the only thing that looks alright at nighttime right now. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Okay, so row 2 is dark. Row 2. In fact, you know what? I think these ought to be brighter down here. Maybe even the whole thing. Okay, and then this is kind of something that would go over the door. See, I've been wanting to get some red in here too, but so far every time I try it, I typically don't like it. That's been kind of my hang up. It's like, I don't know if I'm liking that right now. Something like that, and let's go gray up on this row. And yeah, every one of these textures too, I usually try to, I don't know, see how they'll align on what's there. And most of the time they don't really align too well, but once in a while you get lucky. So let's get something in here. Like a couple of those and a vent thingy. And let's back that up with something on top. How about a couple of those? And will this work? No. How about that? Okay. Let's try some more of these. I'd like to find a couple of these that work. And we did. Good. So let's replace those two. Can these line up? Sort of. Okay. And yeah, let's leave the two like that. And also, I've got this alternative here too, where I can go smooth metal. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe not with that tone. Never mind. I didn't set it up for that tone. Or I think that actually is the right shade. It's just the lighting's weird. Okay. Ooh. There. That there. Just texture a little bit of the top area here. See if I can get anything to line up. Not very nicely at all. Well, that's all right there, I guess. All right, a little bit more here. Let's. It's kind of addictive once you start texturing. It's I keep on wanting to like texture more areas as I'm going, and that's probably why I'm getting so much of the texturing done, which is going to be really helpful later on because, yeah, it's. I hate to do it all at once. I did that with the Empyrion Leviathan, where I kind of built the hull and didn't do anything but build the hull until the hull was about completed. Then I started texturing it, and then it was a monumental task that took a long time, and I think I got kind of sloppy with it as I kept on going because I just wanted to get it done. And this way, it's not working out that way. I'm kind of like trying to make every area as pretty as I can and not really thinking about anything else except for that area at the time, at least. All right, couple more areas here. So we got some darker and we got some lighter. I'm trying to, yeah, let's go light, I guess. I'll go light with this too. See if any of these work in any of these locations. Quite a few are. So let's get rid of some. And I'll just split up the middle here. We'll put something else here. Maybe that. And probably pretty much just regular metal on the top. And we'll go with darker tone in here to try to force a more shadowing. Let's put something else there too. Oh yeah, the inside strip. Oh, I guess that was it. So then other things. And sometimes I'll explore like some of these deco parts and see if there's something that could fit or work in a certain area kind of randomly. So in this case, let's just put a random piece here. I'll texture that tone down. And because I put that piece there, let's make it look like it's sitting on a texture that can support it. Let's try that. Something with square edges like that one. Well, anyway, I don't know how long that took, and it's probably not fully tweaked out, but you can kind of see the texturing process at least on what I've been trying to do. And often too, once I get an area done, like now I'm not so sure I like this this dark strip here. I may change some of the tones, some of the colors around, add in little thingies, a lot of little beams, and sometimes pipes and things like that in the mix too. But it's very random. It's very chaotic on this. Okay, one last little area here. How about that? And this should probably be light too, I think. Run out of blocks of texture over here. That's always a good sign. Well, all right. At least didn't do too much block work here, but a little bit more something going on here. And at the end of the day, what I wanted this area to be kind of all over the place. If you look at the cursor, I kind of, go up, down, gradually get a little bit bigger, kind of smooth out probably in this section a little bit, get bigger over here, kind of fade away, kind of looking like a kind of a skyline, but of not very tall buildings. Maybe up to about 5-6 stories tall at the top. Just had to do that too. All right. Well, anyway, I could do this for the next many hours, and I probably will be working on this more today again and throughout the weekend too. Pretty adamant. I want to get this thing done. My goal is to get this thing done and released before Christmas. So I would like to do that. I know that's a ways away yet. It's only the 3rd of November right now. But this is a big build, and the interior is going to take a long time to do. And I still got quite a lot of work to do on the exterior in a lot of places. So anyway, big build. I like the big builds the best anyway. They can be grueling, but I think mentally I'm prepared for it. And this whole texturing areas and then doing some block work and then texturing areas and then doing some block work kind of thing is actually working out. It doesn't seem like such a monumental task. It's just look at every little area as its own like creation. Like this here is bigger than a lot of creations that I made. Just this part of the ship. Anyway, I'll call the video there, and let me know what you think of the ideas of the tracks, the modules. If you got any questions about the modules, I should be able to answer those now. I was asked yesterday, or actually, I think it was the day before yesterday, about the specs of the modules, and I didn't want to get those out because it wasn't working. I had to do a lot of testing before that, and good thing, because I would have gave you the wrong specs, and some other person could have made a module and it wouldn't have worked right off the gates. And I didn't want that. I wanted to make sure I had this finalized before I put out any information about the modules. If you're interested in building a module, now these aren't, like the Helios modules. I'd be more excited to build than one of these because they're bigger and they're like, at least like a full-size starter ship almost. Where these aren't. These are little things. A little bit tricky. But anyway, y'all have yourself a great day, and I will talk to you later.